Welcome to Paternal Heart Radio.
Lumen Patriarcharum.
Everybody, welcome back to Paternal Heart Radio, the podcast arm of the Lumen Patriarcharum. I want to welcome everybody, to include my dear friend Dan. What's up, man?
Hey, Matt. How you doing today?
Good. I think you have the same introductory saying every time. Like, next time you should spin around and be like, "What's up?" or something like that.
Dude, I'm keeping it traditional.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, hey, there you go. You keep it intentional is what you're doing. Keep it intentional.
And intentional.
Absolutely.
And delivering an act of piety.
There you go.
I learned this weekend.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Very good. Keeping it traditional. And just want to welcome everybody again, where we are trying and attempting to live as intentional men. Let's go ahead and start with prayer, man, because we got a pretty good talk tonight. We're going to be talking about the Blessed Mother and fidelity to the Blessed Mother. And so pretty important stuff here. So let's go ahead and start with prayer. That way we can jump right into it. It always cuts off the amen. I don't know why. There we go. All right.
I can
James.
barely see it. There you go.
You got it now? Okay, very good. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. O Saint Joseph, whose protection is so great, so strong, so prompt before the throne of God, I place in you all my interests and desires. O Saint Joseph, do assist me by your powerful intercession and obtain for me from your divine Son all spiritual blessings through Jesus Christ our Lord, so that having engaged here below your heavenly power, I may offer my thanksgiving and homage to the most loving of fathers.
O Saint Joseph, I never weary contemplating you and Jesus asleep in your arms. I dare not approach while he reposes near your heart. Press him in my name and kiss his fine head for me, and ask him to return the kiss when I draw my dying breath. Saint Joseph, patron of departing souls, pray for us. Amen.
Amen. Lumen Patriarcharum.
Ora pro nobis.
All right. Oh. All right, guys. So again, tonight we're going to be talking about the Blessed Mother, and we're going to talk about fidelity to the Blessed Mother and Saint Joseph's fidelity to the Blessed Mother. So this is going to be a pretty long talk, pretty interesting. There's great stuff in here, some great content that Dan and I are going to be talking about. Also, I just want to encourage all of our listeners to please please share, please click that little bell, that little notification bell to get notified of content, especially on YouTube. But please spread the word, right? We have some exciting stuff coming down the pipe that we really want to do. Some stuff involving private Zoom meetings between myself and Dan, and different ways for us to grow in our faith privately throughout the week. We got that possibly coming up in the next couple of months. That's something we want to share with you guys. And also, a private Facebook group that we're going to have. And we're planning a subscription service. It's not going to be too much money or anything like that, but just to help us pay for the cost of the recordings and the subscription services that we have to have. But yeah, soon to come. More information on that later. But I'm super excited to be able to announce that we're actually going to be meeting with you guys face to face. So let's get some good feedback out there, and please get the shares and the likes out there as well. So awesome. Well, tonight we're going to talk about who was married to Saint Joseph. That's going to be the first thing we talk about. The second thing is why we as Catholic men should have the same devotion that Saint Joseph had to Mary, why we should embody that devotion, and how we can be devoted to our Blessed Mother. I'll give some practical examples there. So let's start off with who was married to Saint Joseph. Who was he, Dan?
Well, Our Lady is definitely an important figure. She's definitely more hidden than one can imagine, being in the house of Nazareth. You can only imagine how she always supported both her son and Saint Joseph as they were in work, and how she meditated and helped them in their work, similar to like what she does in our life. And if we have a picture of her next to our desk, we can always glance at her in our work, asking her to lead us not to temptation or distraction, but to
like what's going
encourage
on
us
in the
to
background. Like,
do our work. Exactly.
yeah.
If you could reflect on the Annunciation as a great example, is, you know, she was at work when the angel appeared to her. She was doing her duty, as a daughter of God. And, she saw herself as a daughter of God. Hence the reason why, you know, God was in awe with her, and if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have the Savior. And, she plays a significant role, not only in salvation, but in our daily lives, today.
Yeah. Now, who do you like, when we think about, well, first of all, you think about that, what you just said is absolutely true, every bit of it. But I wonder, how did Saint Joseph see Mary? How did he view her?
So I would imagine he viewed her as, just a pure child of God who was, devoted. I can imagine that he never met anyone as devoted as Our Lady. And so, I mean, it doesn't, God called them to the vocation of marriage, and he saw that definitely is his wife,
Yeah.
somebody who dedicated to God. I hope that's a great example to all of us to fulfill our vocation, whether it's the priesthood in Mother Church, or finding your spouse in life, or if it's maybe living a life of chastity, similar to Our Lady and Saint Joseph, because they both lived chaste lives, and they dedicated it to Jesus as their primary focus in life. So, that's how I see Saint Joseph looking at Our Lady, somebody that he just wanted to protect and respect, and work, for the glory of God, because he knew God the Father cherished her, and he also imitated God the Father. He cherished her as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super important there, that he cherished her, right? And that kind of leads me to the something I wrote down in the show notes that I wanted to really hit up, because this hit me like a ton of bricks, man. Saint Joseph cherished her so much. He loved her so much. He saw that she was so beautiful, right? And she was so revered by Saint Joseph that it actually strengthened his own virtue just by her mere presence, because he wanted to be better for her. Right? That hit me like a ton of bricks. When you have a good woman in your life, right? Or you've got good kids, like Dan with your wife, right? I guarantee you, after you guys got married, she strengthened you as a man.
Oh yeah, every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, right? Absolutely.
Right? Happy mortification.
Yep.
That one's for Walt there.
Yeah, there you go. And same thing with me. When I met my wife, we've been married now for 10 years. And before I met my wife, like, I was playing video games and just like kind of trying to figure out what to do with my life. And I mean, really, I thought I was all that, but I really wasn't. I was not very disciplined. I was not very, aesthetic. I was Catholic, but I was like, oh, okay, I'll say the rosary when I get to it, kind of thing. Right. But after we got married, within that first year, everything changed. I like, the graces that overflow from marriage itself, are so incredible that what they can do to a man, what they can do to a man's soul. That's why I don't like these people, that even Catholics, if you're dating and you've been dating for like 2 years, you need to knock that off. You need to put a ring on that finger, right? Because you're not going to, what's that?
No, you're absolutely right. Actually, my vocation was confirmed in the confessional, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, actually, so we went to Our Lady, or St. Alphonsus in Baltimore.
Yeah.
The beautiful parish. If you've ever want to go there and celebrate the Latin Mass there, that's the place to go.
Oh, right on.
It's a little gem in Baltimore. But we did the 54-day rosary novena,
Which is
And we
going on
recommend-
right now, guys. Go to usgraceforce.com and get signed up for that. You can still join. Still do it. Sorry, Dan. I want to plug that.
And we were concluding it, and the rosary's always been a kind of a prophetic kind of indication of my vocation, because my faith started with the rosary and my conversion, and here we are, the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary. I go to confession. I'm not going to lay down the details about the confession, but the priest
Yeah,
was
please
just like,
don't.
You got to marry this woman. Stop messing around, just ask her,
Yeah, guys, quit messing around, man. Don't drag people
along.
along.
Me around in confession,
Yeah, the other thing too that drives me crazy is when I actually had a priest friend tell me this. He's a good friend. This guy was a great confessor. He's a great, short guy. But he was a great confessor. I love this man to death. But one time he told me, yeah, I dated all the way up until I took my final vows in the seminary. I'm like, what? Like, no way. And so, guys, if you're thinking about becoming a priest, discern that only. Don't string and drag along some poor woman who thinks that they're gonna be your wife someday, and then be like, oh, I'm also discerning to be a priest. So you're just gonna mess with people's hearts. That's not practicing reverence. Again, coming back to that, it's not practicing reverence towards our female sister, towards our sisters in Christ. That's just not. Sorry if I refer to females as military, male female kind of thing, but that doesn't do our sisters in Christ any justice. I know so many people have been hurt by that. It's just far worse to do that. If you're going to discern the priesthood, discern it alone. Don't discern it with it, because it just complicates things. And if you're going to discern marriage, then obviously we can do a whole show on courtship and everything else. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do that, which we'll talk about later. But yeah. Anyway, back to the whole reverence thing, though, real fast.
Right. And
go ahead.
Add something, since you're talking about vocation. Our Lady is the perfect example of a vocation, and answering that call, like, with a fiat.
There you go.
Let it be done to me according to thy word. I am the handmaid of the Lord. Those words are just like answering the call for salvation of man. So back to you, Matt.
Yeah, no worries. No, thank you for adding that, actually, because it goes right into, so Saint Joseph, again, just tying everything together. He answered that call, right? He's gonna divorce her, right? And we all know from reading the 33-day consecration to Saint Joseph, and then also reading this book Terror of Demons by Kennedy Hall, which I really want people to go out and check that out. Both of them talk about Saint Joseph, though. He wasn't scared. He wasn't scared to he wasn't like, oh no, what are people going to think? Like, she's pregnant out of wedlock. That's not what his worry was. His worry was that he revered her so much. He understood what the mission was, and he did not think that he was worthy enough to do that mission. So he revered her so much. And can you imagine having the Ark of the Covenant under the roof of your house? You got the Ark of the Covenant, and you've got the covenant himself under one roof, right? Can you imagine what kind of virtues that must have just welled up in Saint Joseph? Those virtues they were supernatural virtues for him to have, right? But I bring this up because if you don't revere your wife in this life, okay, now, we all know we're fallen human beings. We're not all Saint Joseph and Mary, but Mary revered his wife so much that we need to do the same thing, right? Because our wives need to be a Mary to us. We need to treat them with that kind of respect. We need to stand up and be leaders, because by being leaders and being the lead of our household and trying to lead our family towards Christ, we are revering our wives. We are showing them the utmost respect by giving them what they deserve, and those are good, virtuous husbands. And I know I'm going to get attacked, for this later on, by the way, just by saying this stuff, by the devil himself, that old scurvy dog, right? But that is absolutely what we should be doing as husbands. Not being tyrants, not being crazy, but revering our wives so much that it brings about a change in us. That's the most important thing right there, a change in us. So the other thing that Mary, that I kind of was thinking about, was what else was Mary to Saint Joseph? Mary was his duty. right? Mary was his absolute duty. You and I know about duty because we're in the military,
Right.
and there is a difference between what we've done and what we've signed up for, Dan and I have signed up for, as opposed to some, other people who don't sign up for these kinds of things. It doesn't make it wrong or anything else. You can find senses of duty, but Dan and I understand, and other military members, law enforcement, police, or firefighters, EMTs, anybody in public service or service to a country or other people understands the mission of duty. And that's how St. Joseph viewed Mary and his relationship with Mary. Mary was his duty. He was to lay his life down for his bride, right? And we have to step up to the plate. We have to be willing to lay our lives down, for our bride, for our children, and everything else. And St. Joseph did that. He served his family. His duty was to serve. Our duty in the military is to serve our country. His duty in that vocation was to absolutely serve his wife. And he did it every single day. I can't imagine what it feels like to have every motion of your hands. Dan, you talk about Opus Dei a lot and things like that. Literally every motion of St. Joseph's hands, everything he did, every step he took was for Christ, literally, because he had to put food on the table. That's just awesome when you think about that. It all comes down to being intentional Catholic men and knowing that the things that we do for our families, our duty as well.
Right.
And everything that we do needs to be for them, even if it means discomfort, even if it means, hey, I got to move my family across the country, or hey, I got to do some really tough things right now to get my family there. That is our duty, So anyway, your take on that, Dan?
Well, Saint Joseph was the first pro-life patriarch because he, dedicated his life to protecting Christ in the womb and outside the womb. And, Our Lady is, kind of a reminder of, we value motherhood. Motherhood is a precious gift, and we respect that. And if it's wasn't for the mother, nurturing our children, they're not going to grow up to be, very confident, people, and Christians on the outside, because, Our Lady is our mother in the church. She's the greatest example of what it is to be a Christian and what it means to be a saint. And our wives are the mothers of our children. They have that duty as well, and it's an important duty. And part of Lumen Patriarcharum is looking to the dignity of the woman and respecting that motherhood, which is lost today.
Yeah.
It's and being pro-life husbands, you don't see too many husbands stepping up to the plate saying like it's wrong, or I think
Yeah.
the father is definitely the most neglected when it comes to any pro-life movement. But Saint Joseph makes it possible to respect motherhood and children.
Yeah. I heard it said, I think it was, honestly, again, I think it was Timothy Flanders said this in one of his podcasts, but he talks about, marriage is probably the most pro-woman thing that anybody could do. Why? Because as men, our natural inclination is not, our nature, our being is we want to be up, we want to be moving around. Biologically, we're made to make children, right? And when we're virile like that and we're running amok and everything else, like we weren't really meant to like sit down. But marriage is the most pro-family thing because it makes a man sit down. It makes a man settle down. It makes a man grow in his faith. And I'm talking about this outside of the concept of the Catholic Church and marriage between God. I'm talking purely on a biological, historical level. But man, that's what it is. It really, Yeah, it really binds a man to his wife and his children. That's why the scripture says a man shall leave his wife and cleave to his or leave his family. Excuse me, leave his wife. We're trying not to do that. A man will leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, right? And
I
just
did
like
that. My family's all the way in California, and I'm in Virginia. So imagine that.
yeah, man. Well, same here. My whole family's in Washington State, and it's it's pretty it's yeah, man, it's crazy to think that's what we're called to do. But not only are we just called to do that, like you just said, Dan, we are called to make an environment for our families to thrive and for our wives to be perfected in their duties as well. Because only
Right.
when we're perfected in our duties, and we're never going to be perfected, but only when we're trying, we can't give what we don't have, right? And so we can't give our family peace and prosperity and the things that they need. I'm not talking about material prosperity. I'm talking about spiritual prosperity. We can't give them any of that if we don't do that ourselves. So we have to really work to foster that kind of a home, and that's what
Mhm.
St. Joseph did. He had it fostered inside of himself. He was able to provide that for his family, and he was able to be devoted to his wife and kids and to really fulfill that duty of making a home for the Christ child and for Mary, the mother of God. So that's awesome. Sorry, I probably just repeated myself a couple times, but that's an awesome point. It's an awesome point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, we got to man up. We got to do the difficult things
We got a
sometimes.
Saint Joseph up.
Yeah, we got a Saint Joseph. That should be a T-shirt idea. Saint Joseph up. Like, geez, Louise, we're getting corny around here. That's for sure.
No.
So we kind of talked about. We actually kind of talked about both things, but let's again, just wanted to kind of reiterate that by inviting Mary into our homes, right? So just the same way that when we invite our wife into our house the first time, and we have the place nice and clean, like it doesn't look like the bachelor pad that we had beforehand, right? All that kind of stuff. Like we actually cleaned it. We might have vacuumed and actually swept under the table, like things like that, right? But when we first invite our wife into our home, that's when we start to see the growth. That's when we start to when we bring our wives under our roof, right? Well, when we bring Mary under the roof of our souls and our hearts, that's going to increase that virtue. So just like St. Joseph did that, that's going to increase our virtue as men as well. We have to invite her in, though, right? we can't be afraid of that.
No, very true.
Yep. And Mary, again, she's the serpent crusher, man. She just is. She's going to crush the serpent. So if you're struggling with something, we need to make sure that we crush the serpent. My daughter's getting out of bed there. But I want to read something real quick from Sister Lucia. She said, "There is no problem, I tell you, no matter how difficult it is, that we cannot solve by the prayer of the Holy Rosary." Right? So that's again, we gotta let her crush the serpent, under our roof. We gotta let her come in and do what she needs to do. But we have to be, properly disposed to that as well. But yeah, Mary's amazing. And devotion to her is something we definitely need to bring into our homes.
No, definitely. If you don't have a devotion to Our Lady, be encouraged. She's the mediatrix of grace. So if you're struggling with something, she will provide.
Yeah, no kidding. I heard it said back in the day too that back in the day, back in like the Middle Ages, that many women actually had a devotion to the Sacred Heart, and many men tended to be more devoted to the Rosary, right? Because she's our queen. She's our she's our queen. She's our queen mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I always found that kind of interesting, and I wonder why nowadays, you see a lot of old women sitting in the pews praying the Rosary, but you don't see a lot of men. Well, in our church, we see a lot of men saying it, but in a lot of other places, I don't see a lot of men picking up the Rosary, and that's just, yeah, that's bad. We gotta We got to pick those beads up. Just like I said in one of the other podcasts, the cord that Jesus used to drive the money changers out of the temple. That's our cord right there, guys, right behind me. I got the rosaries up here behind me. It's my family's rosary hanger over here. That's our cord to drive the devil out and the money changers out. That's it right there. Fasten that thing to your fingers, man, and whip the devil into shape. Get him out of your life. Get him out of your life with that. Anyway.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Say a family rosary. What me and my wife do is we'll maybe take a walk. Do a mile, and we'll say the rosary as a family. And we've been trying to just take up a little space. And recommended by Dr. Taylor Marshall. But
take up real estate.
Not really about that too, but it is. But just ensuring that you say that rosary, that's the most important thing. Or just maybe after dinner, that make it your family tradition that you'll say the rosary together. I'd recommend not doing it before you go to bed because that's a disaster. Waiting
you won't make it. Yeah, you won't make it two decades in before you're fast asleep.
Exactly. But be devoted to it. I would have to say also, if you'd like a great book, you read St. Louis de Montfort's, Book of the Rosary. That's like ultimately the best book of the Rosary, in my opinion.
You talking about the 33-day consecration?
What's that?
You talking about the 33-day consecration or the other book?
A side book that he wrote strictly on the Rosary, and it tells you everything you need to know. I know Father Donald Calloway wrote a really awesome book. I haven't read it yet, but that's one on my my to-dos to read that book. But October is the month of the Rosary, so check out that book, read it, and try to get better at contemplating the Rosary. And it's the best thing for the family right now, and it's the best thing for these times.
Yeah, we need Our Lady's help. We need her intercession really bad. My family does and trust me, we got 4 kids and they're crazy, and I don't half the time don't even remember saying the Rosary, but I know it's efficacious because my kids are learning, right? Sometimes we'll say it in Latin if the kids want to say it in Latin, but it's super important, regardless how you say it, to make sure that you're saying it, with the family, because, oh man, I cannot remember his name. He used to do the Rosary rallies way back in the day, but anyway, he coined the phrase, "The family that prays together stays together," and he was a very big proponent of the Rosary. And I cannot remember his name for the life of me. Dan, maybe you know the priest's name.
I was thinking of that quote right before you said it, man, and you took it right out of my lips.
That's all right.
I don't recall the priest who said it, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he used to hold those giant Rosary rallies.
I know he has an Irish name.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. Hang on, I gotta look this up because Father Patrick Peyton. He's Irish. Hi, Father Patrick Peyton. Yeah, he was a Rosary rally. People don't know this, but like there was thousands and thousands and thousands of people that would go to these Rosary rallies. Like they would go to these crazy Rosary rallies. And I'm glad you brought up the Rosary too, man, because I wanted to talk about devotions next. And you, not only did I steal that quote right out of your mouth, you stole the whole topic out of my mouth. So good job, man. Very good. A lot of people don't know that down in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in the 60s, and I was talking to a friend of mine about this yesterday. In the 60s in Rio de Janeiro, they were fighting off communism. Kind of like what we're trying to fight right now. We're seeing it in our streets, right? All over the place. We're seeing this just violence being perpetuated everywhere. Well, they were starting to see that down there in Brazil, and the Communist Party was holding a giant communist meeting, and they were trying to do all this stuff, and they were causing a lot of problems down there. And 600,000 faithful Catholics came out in the streets of Rio de Janeiro the day they were having their Communist Party and prayed the rosary. And it was so deafening that they had to cancel their Communist Party. And then within I don't know if it was a few weeks or a few months, I need to go back and do some more research on this, but within a few weeks or few months, the Communist Party is completely ousted. And after that happened, 1 million people marched through the streets saying the rosary after that. They did a 1 million person march. Man, we need to be doing the same thing here, Dan.
I agree.
I don't know what's going on. I really don't understand. Like, people just don't believe anymore, man. They've completely just. And Mary, unfortunately, she's kind of been thrown out with the bathwater. I mean, I see a lot of people praying to Mary and everything else, but yeah, man, it's insane. So, yeah, let's bring that back. Let's bring that that piety of saying the rosary back, that homage to our tradition. When I do air the Timothy Flanders episode, you guys will hear a lot about that. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, we got to bring that piety back, and part of that piety is bringing the rosary back and paying homage to what our forefathers have done. The rosary's done so many miraculous things, not only in my life and Dan's life, but in the world. I mean, the Battle of Lepanto was won because of the rosary.
Yeah, if you want to know how Our Lady conquers Satan, it's bead after bead.
Yeah, I like that, man.
Bead after bead, it's like just a jab, a cross and a hook.
Yeah, man. 1-2 punch, man.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, that's awesome. Very good. Very good. Yeah, we can't be, we've got to invite Mary into our homes, guys. I just cannot tell you how much we need to bring the mantle back in. I mean, this is what St. Joseph did. And it wasn't because, obviously he wasn't praying to Mary, but he had the devotion to her right there the whole time that it made him a better person. So if you're not saying the rosary, how do you expect to beat sin and be perfect? In a way, he was praying to Mary and Jesus just by his work and by his words to them and everything else, and those kinds of things. But you go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
And he was involved in the joyful mysteries of the rosary.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my favorite mystery. But think of how Saint Joseph contemplated those mysteries. Sharing that, with Our Lady, just seeing everything that is happening. He may not understand, like the future events, but he had all that faith to allow it to happen.
Yeah.
He was completely involved in every mystery, even though you might not see him, but in the background, as a man, he's making it a possibility for, the Christ child to come and save us, and he got to share that with Our Lady. And that's the beauty here. That's the fidelity to Our Lady,
Yep. Is that devotion to her, it's the devotion to Christ. And a lot of people get this wrong. It's a devotion to Christ through Mary, because only through Mary can we get to Jesus. I got a great quote here from Fulton Sheen that I wanted to read as well. I'm sorry, my bad. It was from St. Maximilian Kolbe. If anyone does not wish to have Mary immaculate for his mother, he will not have Christ for his brother. That is so true. And it's not because, we give Mary the honor due to Christ at all, right? A little bit of apologetics here, right? We give Jesus Christ latria, right? But we give Mary, we give her dulia. And in her instance, it's hyperdulia. In St. Joseph's instance, it's protodulia. And then to the rest of the saints, it's dulia. But we give Mary the highest dulia, hyperdulia, right? It's not the same as worshiping Christ. Christ is pure worship. He is who we worship, right? But Mary brings us to Jesus. So I've always had this kind of, when I go to communion lately, I've had this thought in my head, and I encourage the listeners to take this thought. You can definitely take it. It's not trademarked or anything, so you can have it. But if you bad joke, when you're sitting there and you're kneeling down, you're waiting for communion. There's that scene in the Passion of the Christ where she takes the body down. She takes Jesus's body down from the cross, and she's holding him, the Pieta, right? The famous, Pieta picture. She's holding the Pieta, the Christ, that whole scene, the Pieta. And I picture that, and Jesus is dirty, he's bloody, he's a mess. Mary's got blood on her as well from her son. And I picture her looking at me, and I picture people walking up to receive Jesus. Right? Because not only through Mary's through the birth of Jesus did Mary bring Jesus into the world, but also in his death she offered him to the world. He offered himself up, and then she pulled him off the cross, and in that beautiful Pieta, she's offering him to us as a sacrifice. And I always picture that, and I picture people walking up to Jesus, receiving him, and then walking back to their pews. And so I've always had this kind of image in my head. So if you guys want that image, that's one that I use. Another one that I use or try to use, because my mind goes everywhere, is if you ever have a problem contemplating some of the mysteries of the Rosary, one of the things that works for me, and then Dan, I'd like you, if you could share how you contemplate some mysteries of the Rosary. But, I've got one where, if you're ever having problems, just picture yourself standing behind Joseph and watching St. Joseph look at Jesus and how he would have venerated and adored Christ as the first adoration, after the birth of Jesus. Mary and Joseph both adored him. They were the first, perpetual adorers. And I can picture Joseph looking at him in the silence, and just everything's just quiet. And he just stares at him, and he's just in love with him. And that's how we need to approach Christ, through that holy veneration of St. Joseph. And the same thing with Mary. We got to approach our wives that way. We got to approach Mary that way. I can't hit that up enough. I know a lot of people in the traditional movement, it can be kind of, just kind of like, I'm the head of the household, kind of thing. And we can't be like that. We have to venerate our wives. We have to respect them so much. They want that we revere them that way. And so those are kind of two things that I use in those mysteries to kind of bring that about. But yeah, so sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a little tangent there, but figured it would help a little bit. But Dan, you've probably got some good meditations too as well in the Rosary.
Oh yeah, definitely. One thing, a few years back, I had a really good prompting by the Holy Spirit about Saint Joseph being the first devoted, consecrated to Our Lady, just being where he, his position, right, being the husband of Mary and father, so he formed the first true devotion to Our Lady, before St. Louis de Montfort, that's, to me, that's just pretty incredible, and just how much love he had for her. He slammed the hammer day in and day out for the Holy Family, and it's just a good example for us and what we need to do to be as holy patriarchs and not complain about it. It's so easy to make excuses and complain, but to get rid of effeminacy, you gotta be hard, you gotta be made hard, and Saint Joseph represents that, the virtue, a hard virtue, and be a man, be chaste, when I think of Saint Joseph, I think of him being very strong and aggressive towards work, and he can handle like the toughest man, but he was also chaste in the process. And he was chaste in the process because he loved Our Lady. She was chaste. She, and he knew it. He knew he was, she was supposed to be a virgin, and he respected that. And that was his vocation as well, but he was the hardest, strongest man in that process. And he couldn't have done it without Jesus and Our Lady, because our Mother Most Pure, helps us purify our intentions and our hearts,
Oh yeah.
to follow Christ in all we do. And Saint Joseph was there and witnessed that. And he's showing us how to witness the same thing.
Yeah, if you, so men out there, if you're single and you're listening to this, I hear it all the time, well, I love women. Yeah, well, right? If you love women so much, that much, then you need to be chaste. And that goes for marriage too. Like there are times where we're called to be chaste in marriage, right? I'll be the first to, in our marriage, we've had medical issues and things like that. And most guys do if you have multiple children. I mean, there just comes a time where you go a long time, right? And we have to be chaste in those moments. And chastity does not just mean, and Dan clarify too, if I'm saying something wrong here, but chastity does not just mean, not, because people are like, why do I have to be chaste in marriage? Like that doesn't make any sense. It's not just about, wanting to, make love to your spouse or something like that. Chastity has to do with charity as well, and how we treat our families and our wives when we can't do anything.
Right. And ultimately that's the highest form expression of love, right? I mean, sexuality, human sexuality, but chastity kind of drives it, even further, like that's true love. You can see the other person and their dignity,
Yeah. And we have to have that for all women in the world. I mean, you wonder why these people just rage against the patriarchy, right? And I mean, you and I know that that's just ridiculous, and it's not, but a lot of these women have been treated like crap, abused, used, thrown on the street. I mean, it's terrible. And with the uptick in the use of pornography nowadays, it's just absolutely awful what men have done to women in the past.
Right.
And that's why it's up to us right now to be good husbands and fathers, especially if you have daughters. If you have daughters, do not mess around with them. I'm going to tell you right now, don't mess around with any of it, right? You treat your daughters with respect. And then when you're out with your daughter and you're walking around and you're tempted to look at other women, your kids are going to pick that up. They're going to see that.
And they're going to follow example.
Yep, absolutely. Especially your daughters. They're going to remember that, So we absolutely have to purify that mind. And again, I'm going to repeat this over and over. You can't do that without Mary. You cannot revere other women if you don't revere the one who brought us Christ himself.
There's a really awesome, devotion that as a man, you should probably undertake on a daily basis, and you'll get an indulgence for it too. But saying 3 Hail Marys for purity, at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. And what that's going to do is you can just understand how Saint Joseph appreciates, you revering our Lady for purity, sake, that's his love, for Our Lady, and if we're reverencing her, we're just giving her an act of love, and she's going to protect us throughout the day.
Yeah, no kidding, man. That's another thing you can do as well, which is, again, it's 3 Hail Marys, but it's just said a little differently. It's the Angelus, right? At 6 in the morning, noon, and 6 p.m. If you can nail all 3 of them, do it. I mean, I told myself I was going to do that, and then things come up and you can't, or you just make it when you can. But the Angelus is fantastic because it does the same thing, right? Now, the 3 Hail Marys for purity, that's specifically for purity, but the Angelus brings us into the mystery again as well. So if you do the combination of both, you're winning. And if you had a rosary on top of that, ooh, you're not going to get messed with.
Damage control.
Damage control. Now, a practical tip on the rosary, all right? Don't grab the beads off the wall. I usually have one in my pocket, and I left it in my military uniform. So I got a pocket up here. I keep it in my pocket up there in my military uniform, my left shoulder, so I can pull it across to my right hand, kind of like a sword,
like a sword.
drawing a sword. Yeah. I always put it in the left shoulder pocket. It's kind of fun, I snicker at myself when I pull it out, right? Thinking I'm so pious and holy or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm definitely not. But practical advice saying the rosary, just real fast. And the Angelus and the 3 Hail Marys and, any other devotion, okay? If it becomes something where you're just ticking a box, like Dan mentioned in the last episode when we talked about contemplative prayer, if it becomes like it's ticking a box, okay, you might have to slow down the rosary. You might have to slow it down intentionally. You may not get through a whole one, so it's okay to like take steps during the day. If you're busy, like I am sometimes, I might say a decade in the morning. I might bring my decade back when I have a chance. I had to tow an aircraft a long time ago. Towing an aircraft. I remember I was like, oh, I pulled the rosary out of my pocket while I was towing the airplane. I was walking out in front of the airplane, making sure it wasn't hitting nothing, and I said the rosary then. So there's ways that we can make this work. So number one, don't make the excuse that you don't have time, because that's stupid. Everybody can get 15 minutes, 20 minutes in of a rosary a day, okay? Because again, that is the best blend of mental and contemplative prayer and vocal prayer. Goodness gracious, I couldn't think of the word. Yeah, it's the best blend of mental and vocal prayer. But number two, don't be like, help me for the grace, Lord, so they bless our time, make sure the best for them, Jesus, Lord, Mary, you don't need to rush through it. The freaking machine gun the rosary. Don't do that. That's not something that we want to do.
Right. And do you think you're giving Our Lady any reverence when you're speeding, to get the rosary done, because you're becoming selfish again when you should be humble as a child, giving her reverence. So you're not doing anything. So say it reverently, say it with some love and affection, and she'll be grateful for that.
Yeah. It's like coming home and your wife wants to talk to you and you're like, okay, yeah, all right, okay, right? You're not giving your wife any reverence by not letting her talk. You're just driving her crazy. You're gonna drive yourself nuts too, because you might have really important things and you're missing it, right? I do that all the time.
But you're also being a hypocrite, because Hail Mary, you're saying Hail Mary, and that's a reverent act, So it's like, stop with the speedy stuff, be reverent, Hail Mary,
Yeah, be reverent. Sometimes, it's, sometimes you do got to say one quick, and sometimes it's not going to feel reverent, but that's okay. Definitely get it done. But, it's not going to be perfect every time. You're not going to feel things every time. It's not like you're going to have an apparition in your living room.
Might. And
I don't want to give people false hope, Dan.
But,
I don't want to give you, because then I don't want people being like, Mary, please appear to my living room. I don't want to do that. But
right. But that's all mystical and a whole nother topic.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, be reverent when you say the rosary. Try to be reverent when you say the rosary. I say one with the kids. I try as best I can to be reverent, and sometimes that's the only time I get it in throughout the day. But if you're doing it right, you're doing it correctly. Even if you do it fast, you're going to notice, because you're going to get fruits out of it. And not only going to get fruits out of it, but you're going to start being reminded of where Jesus meets you every day. Because the rosary and Mary brings us to Christ, and he will meet us if we just move. So,
that's true. And the rosary will also, it's kind of like a good trainer for mental prayer too. Because if you look at the mysteries of the rosary, and you're able to meditate on them, and ask God, for the virtue or the fruit of the mystery to improve on, he's definitely going to answer you, and he's definitely going to give you some insight on that mystery.
That's true. I've definitely had some things like that happen, and we'll probably do another show eventually on kind of our experiences with some of this stuff, because I've definitely had some pretty cool experiences with the rosary and things like that. Just some very, beautiful supernatural experiences with the rosary that I can't explain, but
Healing
definitely happened.
Healing.
Yeah, healings and everything else. Yeah, Dan, you had a whole conversion based off the rosary. I did not.
Yeah, and the rosary just healed me all the way up here.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. The last thing I wanted to bring up is the brown scapular, which is a very
Right.
it's one of those things. It's like, people don't it's a kind of a misunderstood one, and we're not going to take a ton of time. Maybe we can do a whole episode on different things there, but it was given directly by Our Lady to Saint Simon Stock. So a lot of us wear them. I've got mine on. I'm enrolled. Dan, you probably got yours on. Yeah, there you go. Right. So
my son, he loves like grabbing.
Yeah.
Scapular, Yeah.
My son wears one. He calls it his scapulator. It's hilarious. It's it's a scapulator. So yeah, I've got the brown scapular. It's given to Our Lady by Simon Stock. What is misrepresented about this a lot, and you'll see this with the rosaries too, is people wear them around their neck like rosaries or something like that because it's like warding off evil spirits, or it's a good luck charm or something like that. So I highly, highly, highly advise men and women to wear the brown scapular, get enrolled, because what it does is every time you see it, it challenges you to be a better man for your wife, for your kids, for your family, be a better man at work, everything else. Just like St. Joseph, every time he saw the Holy Family, was challenged to be a better man. When we look at the scapular, or it itches us in some way, shape, or form, because they're made out of wool, right? If you get a good one, they'll remind you, especially when you get out of the shower and you put your shirt on, and you got this big square right here, they'll remind you in their own right. But that's what it is for. It is a reminder of Christ. You cannot wear this thing, be in mortal sin, and inspect the promises that are given to the brown scapular to come true, because that's not going to happen. You've got to be living the life with the scapular on. And Dan, you can speak on that as well.
Yeah. One practice that I kind of started is when I wake up in the morning and do my morning offering, I'll kiss my scapular, as an act of humility to Our Lady, and start the day that way, So, it's a great thing to do. Just let her know that, I'm with you, Our Lady. I'm going to do that heroic minute with you.
Yeah.
And now we're going to do battle. We're men. We're going to slay that sword. We're going to just get on with it.
Yeah. Going to slay that demon with that sword, right?
Yeah, man.
Not slay the sword. We want the sword.
Father Donald Calloway, I read a book of his, probably a few years ago, and he kind of put this in perspective, like men should be knights of our Holy Queen, and she's going to give you, the grace to do battle against the world and its evil tendencies.
Yeah.
And, for the king, right? Our Lady's Queen, she has her knights, and you should be one of them too. Saint Joseph was one of them, but she's gonna, allow God to work great wonders through you, becoming, the fathers that so many sons need in this day and age.
Yeah, and the brown scapular is it's like our armor. It's like we have the shield and the sword right there. We got the shield and the armor and the sword. You put the brown scapular on. It's kind of like your bulletproof vest on the front and the back, because it's got the two.
Yeah, man.
You got your bulletproof vest. You got your sword or your rifle, right? You got your AR-15 right there with the beads and everything, and we're ready to do battle. Because guys, remember, we got craziness going on all over the place, everywhere. Right? There's gonna be a video probably come out the end of this week where I really challenge you guys to really say the rosary and everything else. But there's a battle going on, and it's not this is not a physical battle. It's not about flesh and blood. Now, will it come down to that? Well, it already has in some regards, it has. But the main battle we're fighting is against the principalities and powers of darkness and hell. That's what we're fighting here. This is not a we are not in normal circumstances right now, and everybody can definitely agree with that. So all the more we need to be on our knees every night saying the rosary. We need to be asking our Blessed Mother to crush the head of the devil, and we need to be using that weapon again, that cord to drive the demons out. Right? We need them out of here. We don't want them here, and they don't belong in our homes. The demons don't belong in our friendships, in our relationships, in our kids' lives, in our wives' lives. They don't belong anywhere around us. So we have to step up and be the leaders of our household. We have to bind the devils where they are, and we bind them with the power of the rosary, and we cast the demons at the foot of the cross, right? This is so important that we don't neglect the fact that we're fighting a real spiritual battle here, because it really is. It's a big deal.
Right. Got to gird those loins and get after it.
Heck yeah, man. Yep. Yeah, so the brown scapular is our way of it's an outward sign, right? I remember being in boot camp and one of the drill instructors saw it, hanging off me. And I'm like, what's that? I was like, it's brown scapular. I was like, what the heck does that mean? I'm like, oh, I'm Catholic. It's like, well, I'm Catholic. I never heard of that before. Don't be that guy. Don't know if I ever wore one or not, but that's it's an outward sign, man. It's our body, it's our body armor, so that's awesome. And it's one of the few things that's ever materially, from what I understand, from what I read, like it actually came from Our Lady. It's a devotion that actually came from Our Lady.
Yeah, similar to the rosary.
Yeah, it's very similar to the rosary. Yep, absolutely. So that's good stuff, Dan. It's good stuff. You got anything else you want to add?
I think I do. So, as a father, you need to love, the mother, of your household, and just realize Our Lady can do so much, for your household. So we just want to encourage again, do the rosary, do it with, a sense of piety, and do it with your family, because our family is under attack today. And, the devil does not take a holiday. He's always on the prowl to do damage. And, like Matt said, this is the day, now, get up, get with it,
Yeah.
Be a man, get that sword and start swinging, and, in a prayerful sense. So,
yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I think one more quick thing here. I got to find this thing. The only reason why I've got it. Blessed Pope Pius IX said, "Give me an army, saying the rosary, and I will conquer the world." Remember that story I told you guys about the 600,000 women and the million? I mean, we need to be doing that, and so I'm just echoing what Dan said there. But yeah, absolutely. Very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, this show's all about anyway, is the gentleman out there, right? Just to wrap everything up, number one, revere your wives as you revere Mary. And if you don't revere Mary, we'll get to it. And be reverent and revere your family, revere your wives. Do what St. Joseph did. Make it your duty to serve your family and to have perfect reverence for your wife. Make your family and your wives your devotion. And last but not least, we talked about 4 ways, in which you can really bring Mary into your life. Number one, the rosary, the rosary, the rosary, and the rosary, right? Those are the first 4. And then, I'm just kidding. Number 1, the rosary. Number 2, the Angelus. Number 3, say those 3 Hail Marys after you wake up and before you go to bed for purity. And number 4 is the brown scapular. We can't win a fight if we don't have our body armor, and we don't have our weapons. We can't even fight in the battle, much less win.
Can't be a knight.
Can't be a knight. Cannot be a knight for like St. Joseph was. So do these things, and you will find in your life that great changes will occur, and you will become a better man, and you'll become a better man for your wives. You know, if you're having issues with your wife and your spouse right now, start treating her like Mary. Even if she's rude and obnoxious, whatever, start treating her like Mary. Start revering her. And you'll find possibly, potentially, things get better. You know, if you're struggling in a relationship, regardless of what's going on, whether you're single, whether you're married, even if you're a seminarian, give your problems and issues up to Mary. Let her give them to Jesus. Let her walk up to Christ and say, one of our children is praying. Let's listen, because that's what she does. You know, Jesus is our God and our King. He loves us so much, and he loves his mother so much. So revere her and ask her to help us, and she will. So tonight, real quick before we close, please visit the website, lumenpatriarcharum.org. You can find our blog there and everything else. I'll probably have a little blog post just for this episode. Again, we're on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Please subscribe. Check our growing website. Please share this stuff. Get people more involved, because we can't get the actual Lumen Patriarcharum started if we don't have more involvement, more people kind of hitting us up and letting us know what's going on in their lives and things like that. And be on the lookout. Things are going to start coming in the next couple months that we really want to introduce and really produce and get out there. So if you have any questions, please hit us up. Prayers, anything like that, hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on lightofthepatriarchs@gmail.com, and just keep it coming. So tonight, in honor of Mary, we're going to say a Ave Maria. All right.
You were going to do that?
Yeah.
Beautiful prayer.
Absolutely.
I was prepared for that too, man.
Very good. You got your paper. Very good. Good stuff, man. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus nunc in hora mortis nostrae. Amen.
Gloria Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, sicut erat in principio et nunc in semper in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Light of the Patriarchs, pray for
Ora
us.
pro nobis.
There you go. All right, gents. Good night, everyone. Whoop, that's not what I meant to hit.